Hi everybody, this is Susan Elliott with another episode of Soapy Business. I want to talk to you today about something that's very important that every single soap maker who wants to have a profitable soap business should know, and that is your hits on the hit parade. Every soap business has a soap or a scrub or a body butter, something that sells out all the time, something that customers just fall in love with. And most of the time it's things that people already know from other resources. So don't think that you have to do the most unique scents in the world to get people into your soap business. You give them a good product that they know from other places and they will come back to you in droves. One of my hits was a 4 butter vanilla that started out as a cold process soap, but I couldn't keep it in stock, so it became a hot process soap. And I don't know if you can see it. The light's a little weird, and it's also faded over time. But the bottom, it's colored with titanium dioxide, and I put it into 2 batches, and I made the top layer a little lighter than the bottom layer and whipped it up a little more. So it gave the impression of being peaks. It's a 4 butter vanilla, and I got the idea from Bonnie of Good Spa, and I took her recipe and tweaked it to my own, and I used the same 4 butters in every single iteration of this soap. I absolutely standardized this recipe, and if you've seen some of my other videos for some of the failures that I had in my first year in the soap business, you'll know that a lot of my recipes either weren't standardized, or I couldn't remember what the heck I did, or if I had to troubleshoot a soap, I hadn't kept such detailed notes that I could troubleshoot it. But with the 4 butter vanilla, I had it down to a science. I was cranking this soap out week after week. And I also had a light lavender, which was also a hot process soap, because that also had been a cold process soap. And I could keep that in stock, so I turned it into a hot process soap. And that's one of the secrets, is you have to figure out what's the best way that you can make things and make them fast when you need them. And hot process is usually the way to go. The soaps do not seem to be as pretty as the cold process soaps, but that's not what customers are looking for a lot of times. My lavender hot process soap was mostly white with some specks of purple going through it. It was very pretty, but it wasn't a cold process soap. Now, what I did, once I realized that I had a hit on my hands, I had to standardize those butters. Not every butter that you ever get. I got shea butter, I got cocoa butter, I got mango butter, I got coke gum butter. Those are the 4 butters that I put in. Not every supplier is going to give you great product. You have to look at your soaps. You have to make smaller batches for yourself and say, what is the best product I can give my customers at the most economical price? So many times you're looking at the middle. You might be looking at the best product that you can get for the money. That doesn't necessarily mean that you go for the cheapest. Customers don't like to be fooled. If you're giving them a great creamy soap with a great scent, and in my scent videos, I talk about how to test your scents. I'm not going to go into that now. And they love your soap, and all of a sudden they get a soap and it's kind of grainy, or it's not lathering that well. They know you've changed something. They might not be sophisticated enough to figure out what that is, but they know you've changed something, and they know you're still charging them the same price for the same product that's become cheaper somehow. And they're not going to come back to you because they're not going to trust you. The way you build up customer trust is with your hits on the hit parade. You have to know what your best sellers are, and you have to remain true to those best sellers. You have to scope out all your suppliers. You have to test them in small batches, and you have to deliver to your customers the very best product that you can. If you do this, if you have all your costs in line, and I talk about this in other videos, how to price and how to cost out your soaps. But with the hits on the hit parade, it's so important. I absolutely emphasize there's 4 butters in here. These are very expensive. Now, if the price of cocoa butter just goes through the roof, I'm not going to pass that on to my customers unless it's, 6 months and it's still going up and I'm losing money. You cannot lose money on your hits. You have to have your hits stable as possible, but that doesn't mean sacrificing your own profits at, the cost of your customers being loyal. So there's a lot of different considerations, and one of the considerations that you really need to just hold on to, how much does this actually cost? You have to standardize the batch, you have to standardize the supplies, you have to standardize the scent and the color as much as possible. If it's a hit, it's going to sustain other parts of your business that are dogs. When you figure out your pricing, and I'm going to talk about this in other videos, one of the considerations is many pricing models are based on you selling everything out. You can't come to a fair and good price that's going to sustain your business if it's not modeled on the assumption that you're going to sell everything out. And we know as soap makers, we're not going to sell everything out. But that's the assumption. So the more things you have that you do sell out of, the better your pricing model is going to be. Pay special attention to your hits. Make sure you have those costs absolutely down. That if it takes you months to standardize your recipe, you put that time in. That if it takes you months to figure out your exact cost, you put that time in. And you deliver to your customers the best quality product at the most economical price that's going to be good for them and good for your business. The hits will sustain the dogs. I promise you that. I'll be back with more. This is Susan Elliott for another episode of Soapy Business. Stay tuned.